You are the only TD YouTube channel. Do you think it's possible Gimple tunes in? I can imagine him listening and chuckling along to our theories and being impressed when we get things right. So Gimple, if you're listening, I challenge you to post something that will go over the GA's heads and only TD will be able to decode. Give us a strawberry or something. Yeah, absolutely. That would be fun. I feel like we should all do that. Like I'll tag him and call him out or something. But I don't know that how often he tunes in. I think it's more likely that he has other people who watch social media for him just because he's a super busy guy. And I don't think he has time to listen to or look at social media all that often. Um, but I can see him having people who are keeping an eye on us TDers for him and just kind of like reporting back. So yeah, that's a fun idea to think about him, still thinking about what we're saying and what we're getting right and what we're getting wrong and all of that. So yeah, I agree. That's super fun. Thanks for sending that in. Have you seen the new Daryl Dixon trailer? Yeah, so this is talking about the teaser trailer that was dropped actually before the first 5 minutes of the episode came out. Daryl says he felt like something was lost and that he feels like he lost the chance to have something. He also repeats Isabel's line of bet on hope. A friend of mine used to say bet on hope. Interesting that he just refers to Isabel as a friend. I think both lines are likely referring to Isabel, but of course, I hope that at least part of it is referring to Beth. Like, come on already, give us something solid, damn it. LOL, we also have a premiere date of 9/7. We can't wait. Yeah, so I have seen it. And yeah, I actually didn't think of that, but it is interesting that he refers to her as a friend. I mean, um, I don't know. I almost don't want to read too much into that one way or the other. I mean, all I would really say is that even though he pursued a romance with Isabel, it didn't really ever take off. So it certainly, and I said this, at the end of season 2 as well, it certainly wasn't a matter of he was in love with Isabel. He was interested in having a relationship with her, and it just never really got off the ground beyond their first kiss, right? But it wasn't like he was with her for a long time and fell in love with her and all of that. So maybe that's why he's calling it that she was his friend. Um, and the other thing I would say too is that again, I'm not throwing shade at Isabel in any way, but she didn't fight super hard to be with him. Like she never did. It was almost more by default. And then when she got hurt, I mean, I assumed it would be one thing if she was bitten and there was nothing you could really do about it. She got stabbed, but it was like she wasn't trying super hard to live either. And so it could be that he's kind of taking all of that into account, that her heart wasn't really in it. And so now he's just calling her a friend. Um, let's see what else was going on here. I'm just looking at some of what I said. Oh, the very beginning of it sounds like a rendition of Moonlight Sonata to me, at least the first part. And then it kind of changes and it goes into more of a Spanish sounding song. But it's interesting because they did use the classic song on the Daryl Dixon season 1 trailer. They used Claire de Lune. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Um, and I don't know, I think we could read all kinds of things into Beethoven, but we also did see um, famous classical music being used at various junctures during season 1 and season 2. So to me, it's just interesting that they're doing that because there's an emphasis on music when they do it that way. I mean, of course, there's always a score, there's always the background music in TWD, but I feel like they're going out of their way to use classical music. And that can't really be about Daryl. He's not really a classical music kind of guy, right? But it's like they're really trying to highlight the music. Um, So yeah, I don't think I have a whole lot more to say about that particular trailer. Um, the only other thing that I know that a lot of people were talking about is there's a guy leaning down toward Carol. So this is not really a Daryl and Beth thing. And in almost like a romantic kissing sort of posture. Personally, I don't think that's what's going on. It doesn't look to me like they were kissing, even though he's kind of standing like that. Like, I'll give you that. But she's actually nodding her head as though he just said something and she's agreeing with him. So I just kind of feel like who is nodding vigorously when someone leans in to kiss them? You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem like a romantic thing. I think it's more like he leaned down and whispered something in her ear and she's like nodding and agreeing with him. And yeah, it's still kind of an intimate stance, I'll give you that. But I don't know. To me, it doesn't really seem like it's a romance thing going on, but apparently the carolers are pissed about it. So I had a few people telling me that. Anyway, not that it really matters. We'll find out. But I really don't think that they're setting up a huge romance for Carol either. I think that's what people are thinking it is. And I just personally don't think that's what's going on. I could be wrong, but I personally don't think that. So anyway, thank you for the ask. And yeah, it is a cool trailer and some really interesting things in it. So thank you. All right, next one. Symbolism question. My only absorption of Dead City has been only through your videos, so I have a very 6 degrees of separation knowledge of any detail work going on here. However, has there been any mirror symbolism around Hershel during his life on screen in TWD? As an old school fairy tale fan, if there is, he's kind of giving me big Kai and the Snow Queen vibes. Kai starts out as a normal boy, but a magic mirror shatters and a piece enters his eye or heart. Because of these shards, Kai's whole perception of the world changes, and he, as becomes cold and cruel, he gets swept up by the titular Snow Queen, who essentially offers him more of these things. Given how Hershel is so loud about rejecting the normal of how things were before the turn, you see where I'm going here. We don't know a lot about the Snow Queen in the fairy tale, and we don't know a terrible lot, as I understand it, about the Dama in Dead City. In the story, his friend Gerda, heartbroken by his leaving, follows him and eventually rescues him when her tears melt the shard in his eye, and he sees things clearly again. I don't remember any particular mirror symbolism around Hershel. So I would say no to that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not seeing something that's real. I mean, when TWD does symbolism, they actually try not to be super obvious about it. So it's not like every time they're going to do a death omen, there's a skull and crossbones in the background. Like, you know what I mean? They try not to be super obvious about it. So they could still be doing this and they just like omitted the mirror, you know? What he sees is more in his art. And, you know, he could be having those kinds of feelings and outlook even without the mirror and the magic of the mirror. So I think you could be right about this. You'll have to keep an eye on it as we go forward. We definitely don't know that much about the Dama. They told us a little bit more this season. She used to be an art critic, and she ended up biting someone who was critical of her. So she was always kind of a piece of work even before this happened. But beyond that, we don't know anything about like her childhood. Was she married? Did she have children? Like, we don't know any of that. So anyway, very interesting, very interesting. And I keep saying that I'm feeling like it's like an Edmund um, Snow Queen from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is kind of similar to what you're describing here. So very well could be, but I couldn't tell you for sure. Thanks for your question though. Okay, did you notice a bird cage around the Dama before her death fake out? I didn't notice, but I would bet there was. So I don't remember for sure, and I looked through my pictures and I don't have one that shows for sure. We can go back and look at episodes. I just didn't have time to do that before I recorded this. On the one hand, I kind of want to say there was. That almost seems familiar, like I can almost imagine it. But on the other hand, there might not have been. I would think we would have all pounced on that pretty hard and seen it right away because that's a big symbol. The other thing is that the the bird cage represents someone being trapped somewhere. And I don't know, I guess the Dama was theoretically trapped under whatever fell on her, right? Um, but I don't know. She wasn't the one who was the prisoner. She was the one holding the prisoners. So I'm almost thinking that despite her having this death fake out, which 100% can be paralleled with Beth, but in this particular aspect of it, she, number one, was not the prisoner. And so I'm not sure that the birdcage actually works. And number two, she actually did the death fake out on purpose. Most of the other fake outs we've seen, they were not done on purpose. Like Beth did not try to make people think she was dead. Glenn did not try to make people think he was dead. It's just the way that it worked out before they could get back and let them know that they were okay, right? Of course, we haven't seen that for Beth yet, but the Dama did it on purpose. So I do feel like it's a little bit different. So I don't know. We'd have to go back and look through the episodes. And, you know, if anybody does that, let me know if you find a bird cage. But I guess I could kind of see it either way. And I'm not sure if there was one just because I think we would have noticed it. But I could be wrong. So somebody tell me if they find one. And if I get a chance, I will go back and look through the episodes. All right. Me, who is only following Dead City through your videos, but I thought the Dama was dead. Yeah, I can see how that would be confusing if you weren't watching the show. Was so confused about the photos of her, Maggie, Hershel from the last videos. Have we had another big villain death fake out like this since the governor? I can't remember. Um, Not a big fake out. No, I don't think so. So yeah, it was a fake out. She did show up and was okay. Clearly it doesn't even really explain how she did it because there's a body there. So she must have gotten out and shoved a walker down where she was so that she could do the death fake out. Um, but yeah, there hasn't been a big one like this in a while. There's little ones. Like there were times that it would do, you know how the show is. It um, kind of makes it look like someone gets overwhelmed by walkers and then they show up and you just assume they figured out how to fight the walkers off. But usually that happens within the same episode or possibly just the next episode. It's not like a huge fake out like this is. So yeah, I mean, it's a good point that we haven't had a big one like this in a while. I specifically remember them doing a few of them with like Beta. There was when Daryl pushed him down the elevator shaft, but pretty quickly they showed him get back up and that he wasn't dead. Daryl just thought he was. But it does seem like they did one where it looked like he was overwhelmed by walkers and then he came walking up and he was fine. But again, those were much smaller. So yeah, I mean, it's a good point. It definitely was a death fake out. It had to do with fire, which was interesting. Um, and then, yeah, it was somebody who was presumed dead and then came walking up and shocked everybody that she was still alive. So I actually think it was kind of a fun death fake out because I even said when I was doing it, I was like, wow, I did not expect them to kill the Dama off in the middle of the season. I mean, shows do that, but I just wasn't expecting it. And then I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's why they didn't actually kill her off. So yeah, thanks for sending that in. And yeah, I don't remember another big villain death fake out for quite some time. So definitely interesting. All right, guys, I'm going to call it there and I will be back in a few days. Bye.